Tell me what I got to do here.
Essentially,
what am I looking for?
If you can't fish a jig like you would a tube or another soft plastic, because a jig's made of metal, and a fish will take it in and spit it out a lot quicker than it will soft plastics. When I give somebody advice on how they should fish a jig if they're doing it for the first time, I teach them a technique called weighing the line. And what that is right now I'm fishing with a 1/2 ounce jig. I know what this jig feels like at all times. Okay, so when I retrieve the bait, I'm expecting to feel a 1/2 ounce jig on the end of my line. If it feels any lighter or any heavier, chances are I probably have a strike. And what I do is I set the hook instantly. With the jig, as soon as I feel a tap, I set the hook.
So you just let it sit there?
Yeah, it's a contact bait. What you want to do is you want to stay in contact with the weight of the bait. So you want to feel what the bait is doing at the end of your line, and anything more or less is generally a strike. And you'll learn to discern strikes throughout the day. If if you're hitting wood, or if it's a strike, it'll pull back after you feel a thump.
So I'm seeing that little tip of your rod shaker. You're moving the bait, or are you just moving the line?
Usually, if I'm dragging the bait over something and it kind of gets hung up, and I know it's like a stick or something, I'll just pop it over without having to move the bait that far off of the cover.
I felt a little something there, a little tick or something.
Yeah, there could have been a fish. There's a lot of stuff in the water.
But I felt like what it was sitting there, like. Okay, you felt something.
Yeah,
too.
that was a hit that I just blew.
Now, what's it supposed to look like?
I guess it's supposed to imitate a crawfish. Sometimes I'll fish a white jig and try to make it imitate a bait fish, like a white perch or a shiner or shad or something like that. But for the most part, I want to try to duplicate a crawfish, or just something that moves real slow, that these fish could take advantage of. I don't think they're too picky, to tell you the truth.
I notice your bait is just, you can't even hear it go in the water when it lands, but mine always splashes. What's the trick there?
It's just, I've been doing this for so long. I mean, I don't even think that I'm all that good at it, but at the last couple seconds, I thumb the spool and I slow the spool down, and sometimes it just lets the jig lay really nice into the water, and sometimes it doesn't. But I kind of, when I flip or pitch, I let the jig do the work. I try to keep my rod. It's like fly fishing. You don't want to overuse too much rod in it. You kind of just let the jig wait, you cast it out there. I'm a freak about my tackle. I always use the same rods, the same reels, brand specificity, that's what I call it. Always use the same stuff, just so I know what it feels like at all times. So if I switch between rods and reels, I'm used to the feeling. And it makes me a little more comfortable. And I think if I'm comfortable, I could fish a lot better.
Now, what about fishing jigs on spinning gear?
You could do it, definitely can do it. I tend to fish them.
There's a fish back there,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I tend to fish them on spinning gear when I'm using light stuff. So if I'm using a 16th or an 1/8 or a 3/16, I'll use spinning gear. In fact, when I built the company, I made a light jig. That's what it was. It was a 1/16 of an ounce jig, and I used to throw it on ultralight tackle. And here we are, 10 years later, and we had heavy stuff. That's actually a pretty good skip cast there, Mike.
I was wondering if I could do that or not.
As long as you control the spool with your thumb and you don't get overrun, you'll be fine.
I keep getting my bait caught in the trees. What's the trick here?
You want to have your rod at a lower trajectory when you flip or pitch, because the bait will travel right along the water's edge, nice and low to the water like that. And you can actually cast under things rather than worry about getting hung up in an overhead, tree or a limb or something.
Go over the cast with me. The exact action.
Now what I do is have enough line off the tip of the rod to hold in my hand comfortably. I point it at my target. I drop the rod tip a little bit, kind of rotate my body, let go of the bait. Well, that's not good because I'm doing it too slow, but at the end of my cast, you'll hear like a dragging or scraping sound. That's my thumb on the spool. I just slow the bait down, and so I don't have any overruns. And a lot of times you throw the bait and it's just not a good cast, and you can stop it in the air with your thumb. You don't have to worry about it. Or if you hit something and the spool's revolving fast, you just touch your thumb down on it, and it'll slow it up.
It's the pendulum thing I don't think I have down.
The pendulum thing,
quite
yes.
Yet.
It's better to let the weight of the bait pull line off the spool than putting extra motion with the rod into it.